You're watching the GameSpot co-op stage, sponsored by LEGO Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Welcome to the GameSpot co-op stage here at E3 2016, brought to you by LEGO Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I'm Jeff Cannata, and I am joined by three of my favorite people in the world. Dave Jewett, Danny O'Dyer, Ashley Esqueda. Guys, it's E3.
I know.
And we are drowning in first-person shooters.
It's great. It's great. It's a renaissance.
I think that's what we need to talk about. It is a renaissance of first-person shooters, and all of them seem to want to build huge, growing communities, have vibrant multiplayer leagues, and all this stuff. Is there room for all of these? I mean, I could list a dozen first-person shooters that are big deal.
Let's start with the normies, the military shooters.
Yeah.
Even this year, the two annualized military shooters are doing something different.
Right.
We've got Battlefield 1 going back to World War I. It looks ridiculous. Everyone who we have had go play it at the events have come back saying it's incredible.
Yeah.
And then you also Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which is a game that's actually
made me interested in a Call of Duty game for the first time ever.
Yeah,
possibly because it doesn't look like a Call of Duty game anymore.
No,
Right, yeah.
I want to hook people in space and then rip their helmets off and make them die. Like, oh man, it would look so great. So many new and interesting ways to murder people.
How far into that trailer at the press conference were you before you realized it was a Call of Duty game?
It was the
The
reload
logo.
animations that gave it away for me.
Yeah.
Like the flick and then the slam back in. I was like, they look familiar, but at the same time, it's in space. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I loved that they chose to hold the logo until the end. And
Yeah.
they basically said, let's surprise everybody.
Yeah, or let's let you realize you like this before you decided
Before
you
you
hate
decide
it.
you
Yes,
hate
yeah,
it.
yeah, good
Exactly
point.
right.
Yeah.
And that was such a brilliant move strategically. I mean, it got me excited, and honestly, like, to be real, guys, I would have checked out if they'd have been like, hey, it's the new Call of Duty game. I'd have been like, where's that Norman Reedus
And you
game?
ca-
Bring it back. Play it again.
And you can't blame you.
No,
Because we've had
because it's the same. There's a lot of the same, but it's like this actually feels and looks so different than what I've experienced in Call of Duty. I think the last one I played was like Black Ops 2. And it,
Yeah,
What
and
was dangerous with that game is that everyone was excited for the Call of Duty 4 remaster, and nobody really cared about
Right.
the new
Yeah,
Call of
yeah.
Duty.
Yeah.
And now they've actively made them excited for both, which
Yeah.
is just more reasons to buy one game.
So I would put alongside that. So we've got Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. We've got Battlefield 1. I would say the next big pillar one is Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
tie.
I played that this morning.
Cool.
It's ridiculously fun. Grappling hooking is real fun, guys.
Does every game have a grappling hook in it now?
It's the year of the grappling hook, year of the grappling hook, and year of the giant crab boss fights.
Yeah,
This is
great,
2016.
giant crabs.
Giant
Yeah.
crab boss fights.
E3
for
has
sure.
given everybody giant crabs this year, guys.
And also, it's the year of the cover song that is a pop song, but it's like
Slowed
down tempo.
way down. Yeah.
But are you guys excited for Titanfall 2?
Yeah, I mean, I think that first game was a tremendous first take for Respawn Entertainment. I mean, it's headed by Vince Zampella, who is half of the duo who basically made Call of Duty, and I think their second bite at the cherry is going to be a lot better. They're going to min-max on the Titans a bit more. They're going to be sort of more individualistic. They were the ones who started the whole movement renaissance a couple of years back, and then we had Call of Duty try and do that, and now we live in a world where like the first-person shooter du jour is Overwatch, which is a game entirely based on the ways in which characters move.
Yeah.
So I think Titanfall, I mean, it's weird, right? That is a stacked couple of weeks. It's coming
Yeah.
either side of Battlefield
Yeah.
and
Like
Call
boom,
of Duty
boom,
as well.
boom.
A lot of first-person shooting to be happening. Are you excited for Titanfall?
I mean, anytime I can smash somebody with a robot, I'm in. So
Yeah.
I'm into it.
My biggest
Okay.
hope for Titanfall 2 is that the community doesn't just veer off a cliff after like 2 months. Because that's what happened
always
with the
the
first
fear
one.
about first-person shooters,
Yeah.
right? Is that you end up with this kind of situation where everyone's playing or nobody's playing.
Yeah.
That happened with Battlefront. It was
Totally,
like
yeah.
played, like everybody was in for like 2 weeks, and then every other game on Earth came out. Like around
Right.
that time, it was like Fallout. Everybody just sort of like sank into an abyss of playing a million different games.
Well, I'm excited for Titanfall 2 because of the single player. I tend to
Right.
be terrible at multiplayer first-person shooters, so I enjoy a great story that I can have a great time in that universe, and it seems like a really cool universe. And it feels like the lesson they learned is, hey, we need a single-player story. Meanwhile, so many other companies are going, we don't need single-player, let's make an arena shooter. There are so many first-person arena shooters coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, Overwatch
Yeah.
is owning the world right
Massive.
now. but we got Lawbreakers. We got a new Quake game.
Quake Champions!
Yeah.
I know you're excited about Quake.
Yeah, man, like, whenever they make a new Quake, you're like, okay, which Quake are you making? Because you're making Quake 1, which is this weird gothic 9-inch nails fever dream. Are you making Quake 2, which is actually kind of just a first-person military shooter set in the future? So maybe not that one. Are you going to make Quake 3? And what it looks like they're making is a spin on Quake 3. Notice I did not mention Quake 4. So
Wait, what's Quake 4?
The stroggification.
Mistake.
Yeah, put that by the side.
You're like, exactly.
Quake 4 is the Doom 3 of Quake. It looks like they're going to make a hero shooter within Quake, where the heroes, I hate using that word, the champions, I don't know, the characters have individual
powers and loadouts. Overwatch style or Battleborn or...
And before Doom, I would have been worried. But we live in a post-id Doom 2016 world.
And what a world it is.
Right? So now it's like, go for it. Like, I trust you guys again.
Do you get the sense that id themselves and Bethesda itself was surprised at Doom? Like, they didn't send out review copies. They were kind of playing it close to the vest, being real like, it's just this Doom game. And then everybody loved it, and they're like, oh yeah, no, we love it too.
But it's interesting that you mentioned Doom after Quake, because the Doom single player was amazing. Yeah. I absolutely adored the Doom single player, but the multiplayer was like really lackluster.
And now you know why.
Yeah, it feels like they've like hampered their own multiplayer or gotten all their multiplayer mistakes out of the way to make Quake. But it's like the Doom multiplayer felt like a bad Quake.
But they didn't make the multiplayer. Critical Assembly made the multiplayer. Who did the multiplayer for Halo Anniversary, I think, and a couple of others. And now you know why they didn't do an arena shooter. Because they were working on an arena shooter.
Yeah. But it's funny how many of these other arena shooters were announced. Like there's that John Romero one that was on a Kickstarter for a hot second. That they and Lawbreakers, like the messaging is like, because there's no Quake, we had to make this game. It's the game we wanted to play because we used to play Quake. And it's like, well, now there's also a Quake. So I'm worried that there's not enough room for all of these.
We're gonna see some rise up and some. It's just how it is. Like people are just gonna take. I mean, not to get shady, but it's like look at Battleborn and Overwatch right now.
Right,
it's like one goes up, one goes down, and that's not to say Battleborn could come back and release some great patch that brings a lot of new players in. But it's just that's how it is. We can only play one game at a time so far. Like we have not yet developed the technology to play 2 games at once, which. Listen, I'm okay with that. I figure out how to multitask 2 games, but yeah, we are going to see some winners and losers, and it's just it depends on who brings it. You got to bring something interesting. You have to bring something fun, super replayable, and also it has to be a community that sticks around. I think that's really important.
Well, I think a lot of the effort to create community and to make something that lasts is by building in competition and that esports is this big buzzword everybody now is saying, and Microsoft is talking about doing it on a sort of global level, and there's a lot of these companies that are infusing build your own tournaments and all that stuff into the games. I'm a little skeptical of that. I don't know how much an average player actually wants to participate in a tournament. Yeah. Watching a tournament, watching pro players play, I think is exciting, but participating in tournaments, I think that's being overestimated a bit. You guys agree?
That's interesting because like I come from a background of watching loads of esports. Like I used to watch competitive Counter-Strike streams daily, and then we kind of went through a period of shooter games shoehorning in esports. Like Rainbow Six Siege was like, hey kids, you want to play esports? And it was like, no, not really, man. It really depends on the support that the developer gives it for esports. I think like Blizzard do it really well, and there's already a competitive scene for Overwatch, but you really need to have that competitive element going in. It needs to be tight, it needs to be precise, it needs to be balanced straight away, and you need to have these passionate fans to instantly start playing competitively.
Yeah, you need that critical mass. You need a lot of people involved. Like, Twitch is this massive force, right? Half of Twitch's traffic is from League of Legends. It's from one game. Overwatch is massive and loads of people are playing it, but it needs to be massive. Like Battleborn's problem was that there wasn't enough people playing it. It has like 2,000 concurrents. Evolve had the same problem. Titanfall had massive drop off. So, I mean, first-person shooters have to be popular to have the multiplayer servers full for people to play. But for it to really resonate as an esport, it's like a different magnitude higher than that. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think everyone wants a bite of that cherry, but there's just too many of those. There can only be like 2 or 3 big esport first-person shooters, surely.
Yeah.
I can see Quake having a big esports presence.
Oh, I think it'll have a big resurgence because people like Danny still love Quake.
So it's
After all
interesting.
these years.
It's interesting though, because Unreal Tournament has been around. I've been playing the alpha for at least a year now, and they've sort of done it the opposite way. Instead of having Blizzard had the okay, here we go, Overwatch, boom, it's finally out there, everyone go play it. They have been trickling people into it for so long and trying to build it, and it hasn't really worked. And you could say that Unreal Tournament and Quake had like a similar sized fan base.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
It's
And
gonna be
is it too old? Is the franchise too old to come back? I don't
That's the other
know.
thing.
Because newer, younger gamers, like we're old. We're all old. Like it's
Oh.
newer, younger gamers. They want to play new stuff.
Like,
Just
how many Overwatch players have played Action Quake, which is basically what that game is?
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
none.
probably none of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Or even TF2. Like some
Totally.
of us are
Yeah,
so
yeah.
young to have never even played TF2.
And the biggest competitive shooter games right now, like Counter-Strike, a lot of the big players in that have come from like 1.6.
Yeah.
And Quake, I think it's going to also have a backing of, it's going to have the nostalgia backing where all the old players who are really good, like Quakers still play competitively at QuakeCon, they're now going to move into New Quake, and it's going to have like a big thrust into the esports scene just off the back of those guys.
Just seems there was people were worried it was a MOBA for a second.
I know.
It still could
Oh,
be
I
something
know.
weird.
There was a part of me that was like, I could kind of be into that being a MOBA. I could kind of be on that page, you know? It would have pissed off a lot of people, I'm sure.
Do you think, in terms of, oh my gosh, where did my question go? It's gone now. Never mind, go ahead. I'm going to try to rethink of it. I thought of something really good, and now I can't remember.
I'm sure it'll come back.
You know what I was thinking of? Prey.
Right. Okay, well, let's talk about Prey for 1 minute. Because why is it called Prey?
Right.
Exactly. I'm very excited for what they showed, but does that IP carry? I mean, I know we're talking about it now.
It's so strange. Like, yeah, the adventures of Tommy Hawk, the Native American in the bar with the Blue Oyster Cult song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I played all the way through that game.
It's good.
That was not a good game. It was not a good game.
I thought it was fine.
It was like a great 10 minutes at the beginning, but then there was like 8 more hours of that game.
And your
that were not
granddad's
good.
like your spirit animal.
Oh, it was not good.
That being said, though, how many, like, Bethesda are 2 for 2 for bringing back first-person shooters
Yes,
now.
yeah.
Sure.
Wolfenstein, Doom are both fantastic.
Yeah.
If they can do the same with Prey, now they've gotten the license.
Are you
Yeah.
allowed to reboot something that only existed as one thing? Like there hasn't even been a sequel to it.
It's not even like lauded, like critically, or it's just,
like fan
it's like-
favorite, huge cult classic.
like somebody
It's like
making
we paid for the IP. We might as well slap it on
Yeah.
this game that we're making.
It's like somebody making a reimagined Mortar. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that game.
Yeah.
The only experience I had with Prey is it always used to be one of those games that were like 3 for £10. Like
bargain bin.
Yeah,
used-
yeah.
I was like, still doesn't look worth it.
Oh, I like
which
Prey.
is a bummer because what they showed as being this new Prey
Yeah.
is amazing. I'm on board for
Yeah.
that kind of psychological sci-fi thing. It's just the logo came up and I was like,
Sure.
Well, it turns off the people who actually remember playing it, and it means nothing to the people who've never played it. So that was why I was really confused by that.
It makes me feel like we're at this weird place where nostalgia for stuff that you haven't even played is a thing.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
I remember
Or
you and I
watched.
talking about when you were on my show. We were talking about giving money to a Kickstarter for a game that you don't like, but you kind of feel like is a thing.
Shenmue.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
Shenmue.
It's a weird place to be of just like sort of phantom nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. So
Like
what's happening is
Bloodstained was the same thing. It was like a lot of people had never
Right.
played like a traditional 2D Castlevania game, and they're just like, and people are like, "Eega!" Like people like
Yeah.
freaked out. It's just like, well, yeah, give them your money. I did, but also like you've literally never played a Castlevania game the way that it used to be, like a Symphony of the Night. Like it's weird.
So we're sitting here talking about the like renaissance of the first-person shooter, whereas to a lot of people, it's just, hey, look at all these good first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're blind to it. They didn't even know.
They don't remember
That's
when
true.
there were none.
It's weird to think that people playing first-person shooters now, like new players picking them up, have never played a first-person shooter that has made you pick up health packs or armor packs.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
people, that hasn't been a thing since like Doom, and they've started to slowly bring elements like that, and it was considered
Yeah.
old school.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people playing Call of Duty and Battlefield are like, wait, I have to pick up health? I don't just get a bloody screen and hide in a corner? What is this?
Yeah, how do I not just hide and heal myself? I don't understand. I'm Wolverine in every game. Like, I never understood that. But yeah, it makes sense. You gotta
Well,
go
that was
get
the
health
genius
back.
of Doom is oh, hey, instead of incentivizing you to go hide in a corner,
Right.
incentivize you to jump into the
To get
fray play.
out, yeah.
So much more fun. Okay, so we have a ton of first-person shooters. We've talked about a bunch of them. I'm sure we're leaving out a few notable ones too that I haven't thought of. But
We're
if
so
you could
sorry.
if you could only walk away from this convention with one, which would you pick?
Oh man,
I'm totally put you guys on the spot.
it's real hard.
Battlefield 1.
Really?
I have been itching for a game that does World War One. There was a game that came out not too long ago called Verdun,
Yes.
which was a World War One game, and it was a great game. It didn't have the backing that I think it deserved because it was kind of like an indie thing. But now that like a big studio has picked up the World War One mantle, I was like, okay, let's see what we can do with this event. Now I'm excited, and seeing people play it, seeing the gameplay. Some of us guys have had hands-on. And I've been like just harvesting them for information. I am super excited to go that far back in time.
Shooting down a Zeppelin does look like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a?
I will roll the dice on Quake Champions. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but there was a railgun and a rocket launcher, so I'm in.
I like it.
I'm gonna make up a game, and I'm gonna say Titan Fallout, where you, instead of wearing power armor, wear robots, and it's an MMO FPS. And you
I
just
like it,
kill
but
people.
you're not allowed to make up games.
Well, I just did, so that's what I'm gonna choose.
Fallout's got mods. Somebody's already made it.
Somebody please make that
I
if
like
you haven't
that.
made it yet. Titan Fallout. That's what I want to try that.
You know, Titanfall. I think of the competitive multiplayer shooters,
I
the
feel like
one I
that's
think
it.
that I will play the most
Yeah.
because mechs are fun. I don't think we get to add Dishonored to this list, but Dishonored to
Right.
me is the one that I'm most jonesing for
Yeah.
of the first-person view. But lots of amazing first-person games, lots of other games, lots of coverage here on GameSpot. So don't tune away. We got so much more coming all week long. Stay tuned.